Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Providence School Board to order. Can everybody hear me?
No.
Yeah. What about now? No. How about now? Now you can hear me?
A little better.
I can also just use my louder voice. So I'd like to call this meeting of the Providence School Board to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Travis.
Clerk can call the roll. Sorry, folks, hold on one second. Just got to put the microphone in here. Just in case it wasn't obvious, and this is the first time I've done it. If the clerk can call the roll, please. I appreciate it.
Interim President Mark Sankoff,
Present.
Ibiyemi,
Present.
Tyrell Stevens,
Present.
Night Jean,
Present.
Tony Aiken,
Present.
Erlen Rogu,
Present.
Carolina Robert Santana,
Present.
George Matuk.
Present.
8 members present. First of all, I want to welcome all of you. It's a large crowd. It's great to see. Good for democracy. Also wanted to welcome my fellow new school board members. We have 4 new school board members who have stepped forward to serve our community. And they are deserving of a round of applause for doing so. Okay, so now Superintendent.
Good evening. I'll keep my remarks brief. My name is Scott Sutherland. I'm filling in for Dr. Javier Montanez. I serve as the Chief of Staff. Dr. Montanez continues to get well following the surgery and looks forward to seeing all of you in the near future, the real near future. In the meantime, he asked me to deliver these remarks on his behalf. He would like me to begin tonight by acknowledging the 4 new school board members who are joining us for the first full board meeting tonight. Again, a warm welcome to Tony Aiken, George Matuk, Erlen Rogel, and Carolina Robert Santana. Being a school member requires long hours that often go unseen. On behalf of Dr. Montanez and the staff, students, and families of Providence Public Schools, thank you all for your service to the district and your advocacy for improving the quality of education for our children. Providence schools are at a critical point right now with historic changes on the horizon and some already underway. Superintendent Montanez is a firm believer that we get our best decisions when we have a diversity of opinions and perspective around the table. The voices of our new school board members will be a critical part of making sure we create a modern learning environment that will help students in Providence thrive for decades to come. Thank you again for your service. We look forward to working with you.
We will entertain a motion to actually take number 3 and number 2 out of order. We're going to move with a motion, a second on the vote. Move number 3, approve agenda up ahead of item number 2, which is action. Do you have a motion?
Okay, observation, Mr. President. There's an amendment that we're used to making item number 8 in terms of that we moving to include that in the executive session.
We can, but let's move the approve the agenda up first.
Okay.
Do that first, and then we can actually vote to approve the agenda.
Okay, I second that.
So do we have a motion to move item number 3 up ahead of item number 2?
Motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any no? Any abstentions? Okay, so now we can entertain a motion to approve or amend.
Motion.
Mr. President. Mr. President, with item number 8.1 on this agenda is supposed to be in the executive session. So may I request that we move that 8 into the executive session, item number 9.
So there's a motion on the table to effectively remove or move legal presentation, which is 8.1 on the agenda, into executive session. We have a second.
We can't hear you.
Okay, pardon for that. So we have on item number 8 on this agenda is an item for the executive session. It's supposed to be in the executive session, which is 9. So I'm moving a motion to make that item number 8 into the executive session item.
So do we have a
You can
second?
hear me now? Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no's? Any abstentions? Right, motion carries. Now we need a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Right, or is that-
Yep, that's correct.
Motion. Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the agenda has been approved. So now we can move to the action items, election of officers. And I will refer to Charles Ruggiero to give us an overview of how that process works.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. So the process begins by the call for any nominations for either a slate of officers or any individual offices. So first, the chair should call for a nomination for a slate, if there is a nominated slate. And then if there's any additional nominations, a call for any additional nominations. So first would come for a call for any nominations of a slate of officers.
So do we have a nomination for a slate of officers from the school board?
Mr. President, I hereby nominate Mr. Erwin Rojo for the president, Mr. Travis Escobar for the vice president, and Dr. Mark Santa as the secretary of the board.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, any discussion of that motion?
Yes.
We can't hear again back here.
Testing, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're still okay.
Can you hear me?
You have to talk into the mic.
Can you hear me?
I just want to say this. I'm very concerned and about the nominations of Travis and Dr. Santal. Joined the board first in February, last year in February, and since I joined the board, nothing has changed. I say because when I joined the board, I tried as a youth leader in the community and also a refugee, I tried to build bridges between the PPSD and the refugee community, and also advocating for parents, PPSD staff. But what concerns me is why board members that barely attend board community meetings. We have board members that barely attend schools visits, and I don't think it's okay for them to be on the leadership.
No. Yeah. What you just said.
I do just want to share. So I am in fact going to sort of vote. That's what the majority wants. These are like not working.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. That's what the majority wants, which I am going to support it on today. But I do want to sort of say I am going to hold the new leadership team accountable, making sure that you guys are sort of on the grounds doing the work just as well as I do, showing up to community meetings, showing up to sort of meetings that sort of pertain to the students and families. I do have sort of my thoughts, which I am going to sort of keep to myself. I am going to support individuals, but I do want to make sure that we are more focused on sort of doing the work than people sort of get into those roles for titles and trying to sort of, climb the ladder. That's not what I want it to be about. So I trust in the leadership. That's what the current board wants. I'm sorry I'm not giving anyone no facial expression, but that's what the current board wants. I'm going to support it, but I am going to hold everyone accountable. So looking forward to working with each of you, and we'll see how things go from there. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? So are there any more calls for a slate of nominees or any other calls for nominees? Are there any other calls for slated nominees or for any nominees? Are there any more calls for slated nominees or nominees? Okay, having no additional nominees, we have a motion on the table.
I would just note that nominations are closed.
The nominations are closed. So is this a roll, I assume this is a roll call vote?
Roll call vote.
Do you want me to call the roll? Yes. So, I guess I will.
Can you just call our names and call the roll, and then after that, you can take it out?
George Matuk,
Approved.
Tony Aiken, Wayne Ibiemi,
Approved.
Erlen Rogel,
Approved.
Mark Santom,
Approved.
Tyrell Stevens,
Aye.
Mike Jean Moyagambo, Carolyn Robert Santana.
So the vote is 8-0. It is approved.
Mr. Chair, I would just note as well the communication from Mr. Escobar.
Yeah, so there was a direct communication from Mr. Escobar, who is not here today, that he accepts the nomination as vice president. Should I read it directly?
You can.
Sorry. This is from Travis Escobar. Here is my written notice that I'm running for vice president of the Providence School Board. Although I will not be physically present at the meeting, I intend to fill that role as nominated and voted on by the board. Thanks. So then, you're in just like that.
I'm all set. I just want to thank this vote of confidence from my colleagues. I look forward to the dialogue and the work that's ahead. I'm a kid from Providence, born and raised, went to our schools, went in the Bay Gilbert Stewart Classical High School. I've taken these buses, I've sat in these desks, and I've also taught in front of their classrooms. So I'm very honored to be in this position and very humbled by the support of my colleagues, all of them who are dedicated public servants and who are here to do what's right and what's in the best interest of our community and kids. So again, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next item on the agenda, 2.2, review of homeschool candidates.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Apparently we're having trouble here too. My name is Sandra Stewart, Chief Student Support Services Officer for PPSD. Congratulations and welcome to all the new board members. Tonight I share with you 5 homeschool candidates for your approval. These candidates are TP grade 4, BC grade 3, CL grade 8, AH kindergarten, and CP grade 9. All candidates meet the requirements set forth under the Rhode Island Law 16-19-2 and the Providence School Board policy that was adopted in the spring of 2022. Members of the Providence School Board, it is my recommendation that we approve these candidates for homeschool.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. The motion before us is to approve the recommendation of these applications of homeschool candidates. Is that correct, Mr. Solicitor?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Let's take a vote on the motion, Mr. Chair. Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to take a moment.
Yeah.
So we had a first, second, no discussion. All in favor? Any against? The motion carries.
Mr. Chair, there is no section 2.3 of the agenda known as elected to be heard in open session on that matter. So we may move to the next section of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Next item on the agenda, 4.1, public comment, right to be heard. Madam Clerk, it's my understanding that you provided me a list of everyone who signed up and is interested in talking tonight.
Yes.
First on our list, Gene Rossi. Pass. Next on our list, Amanda Rinalducci. Welcome and thank you. Just a quick reminder to everyone who signed up for public comment tonight. 3 minutes per person, and we're going to try to limit if there's a way we can consolidate our viewpoints. So we have a spokesperson, that'd be appreciated. There's a lot of business on the agenda tonight that we'd like to get through. But thank you so much for coming and making your voice be heard. Welcome.
Some of us didn't get a chance to sign up.
I don't want to engage in the back and forth, but I believe that our bylaws stipulate the process for signing up for public comment. Our bylaws is something that we intend to revisit as a board at a future date, but we have processed the sign up in accordance with our bylaws, which is online in 30 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Rinalducci, Assistant Principal at Nathaniel Green Middle School, home of the Bucks, proud to serve. I've been here a couple of times, and I came talking to you about this weird thing called Yonder. The human brain is adverse to change, generally speaking, right? So it was this big thing, and it was a change, and you were like, what? And so I did a lot of research, and we got some parents involved, and we got some teachers involved, and we came again, and we presented, and you ended up approving Yonder, and it has since been in effect at Nathaniel Green Middle School. So this program that puts student cell phones in a pouch that doesn't open throughout the day has resulted in a lot of positive things. And since you were so gracious as to approve, I thought I would just come by and say thank you and share some of the things that have happened thus far. Students have responded positively in that they're writing about it. So to share some of the things students have said, since I'm not distracted, I might as well do my work. I have made more friends. I'm happy to come to school. The response has just been overwhelmingly positive from students. Additionally, our lunch numbers have increased, so more students are going up to get their lunches, which means more kids are eating. This is super positive. Additionally, our attendance is up 4%. So there's like the before Yonder attendance and the after Yonder attendance. Correlation, causation. I'm not here as a scientist. I'm just letting you know this. Since this happened, our kids are coming to school more. And what I've heard from students is I can't stay home because there ain't nobody to talk to, right? So they have to come to school if they want to be connected, and kids like to be connected. So we've just had a lot of positive things happening. In addition, our testing, things like access, because more kids are here, more kids are getting the test done, we're able to intervene and work with more students. So it's just been kind of a trickle down, a spiral out. Teachers have reported positive things, obviously, because they're not fighting cell phones anymore. They get to deal with students. Additionally, our cafeteria is a lot louder, but that's because they're talking to each other and they're engaging in those social dynamics that are so important during the middle school years. So those are the things I wanted to say. Thank you very much for approving. And just to let you know, it was definitely worth the investment thus far.
Thank you, Principal. Next on our list, Marquez Maxon Taylor. Marquez Maxon Taylor. Next on our list, Krista Strange.
Can you hear me? Hello, my name is Chris Lestrange. I'm here speaking on behalf of my wife, Caroline Lestrange, who is homesick. My wife is a veteran teacher of 37 years, and 22 of them have been at Broad Street School. I am also a teacher in another district in Rhode Island, not under state control, state takeover. And we have had the opportunity to compare our teaching experiences over the years. My district still respects teachers, families, and the community. I love being a teacher, and so did my wife, until the takeover. Since the takeover, we have watched the demise of the Providence public school system. The Providence school system has lost her credibility, along with more than 550 teachers and administrators who have left since the takeover. PPSD continues to offer bonuses and incentives to recruit teachers, a campaign that was launched in 2019 under the state takeover. Has it been successful? No. We still have a teacher crisis in Providence because the state takeover has been unsuccessful. I have been to the last 2 school board meetings in the K-12 council meeting. I have been listening to teachers and families. I know many of you up there have been listening too. The new members of the school board, please hear the voices of the families, teachers, and the community. The Washington Park community is devastated by a decision that was made by one person who has not shown her face to parents, families, or teachers. Oh, let me correct that. She did go to Broad Street School after it became public. Did you notice I used the word after? She took reporters into the basement to illustrate the crumbling school. She went into a bathroom to show them an old phone, a bathroom that is not used by any teacher or student. It was a room that my wife, having taught there 22 years, has never been in. No reason to go in there. She was trying to spin her story. In that same report, they say Broad Street needs a new roof. The roof was done in 2021-22 school year. There's paperwork showing that it was completed, signed off as completed. I don't know about you, but if I paid for a roof a year ago and it was leaking, I would call that contractor back and have it fixed. During that visit, she did not talk to a single teacher or child, yet she is the commissioner of education. No oversight, no accountability. I would like to leave here tonight knowing that there's a plan in place to end the state takeover and reverse the school closings. Thank you.
Next on our list, a couple comments. Caitlin Crudell.
Hello. I'm gonna start my statement off because I want to pass it on to read it. This is written by my second grader. This is what has affected her. And no one's seeing the effect of the children. That was my take exactly when I read it. So I wanted to see, I asked you guys, if you guys are parents. A couple of you answered me. Some of the new ones I didn't really know. But you guys said you're parents, some of you guys say you went to private schools. So if you had this taken away from you as a parent, you guys on paper, your school's closing now, you have 2 months to figure out school. Figure it out, pick it, and not even tour it. I got a call for a tour the couple days before the deadline. I didn't go to school because I haven't gone on a tour yet. So you expect all these families to pick a school and have a choice without knowing about the school, nothing. I had a school call me trying to enhance me to go to a different school because she didn't want to affect her children in her school already. How is that fair? So a school that will benefit my children doesn't want to, and push them to another school who doesn't have a strong IEP program. But to be okay with that. Because it's closer to me. She doesn't want to disrupt her kids. Young Woods had no clue about this at all. They found out a couple weeks ago that they were having new students coming in. how's that fair? You're disrupting too many lives, including other schools. So now the class of 18 kids who are thriving now have to fight for attention in a 30+ classroom with one teacher. How would any of you as parents feel? Hurt, right? Heartbroken? How the fact that I have a kid coming in and fall? Don't know where she's going. Because I have to wait until April 25th to even start her IEP meetings because you guys are so backed up. The state gives nothing about us. All they care about is the money and saving it to do whatever they want to do with it. They can't show us numbers of how much things are costing. They can't show us minutes on when the meetings happen. They're saying that the meetings happen here to discuss the closures, and that you guys all agreed on it. Yep, exactly. But it was in a Zoom meeting last night, so it's recorded. Everything's labeled. They said the meetings happened with the school board, and the school board know about it. It's actually Mr. Zach over there who gave us the meeting. And the meeting we watched last month was the same meeting that was said that they couldn't get face value for it, is the meeting they gave us. With a couple little edits in it. So how's that fair for any of us as families?
You start wrapping up your comments, watching the clock.
At our school, we have a speech that they do after the Pledge of Allegiance about being a school B. Honestly, those two men, Javier and this gentleman right here, you're gonna have your brush review because you guys are a disgrace.
Next on our list, Sherry Mooney.
Hello, my name is Sherry Mooney. I have been in this district for 24 years. I can tell you that I love our Providence kids and families. And I'm here tonight because I firmly believe we can give them so much more. I'm asking for more support than we see at the school level every day. We want to see the support in our buildings. I feel confident that our district leaders are dedicated to work with us to make Providence School what it is capable of being. Teachers, coaches, admin have left this district in droves. Most left because they didn't feel appreciated or that they weren't being heard. The great ones that have stayed are mentally and physically exhausted. We really need your help. So many vacancies make it impossible to do the work we should be doing. Our kids are suffering terribly. We need to see that you are supporting us all. We have an abundant amount of kids dealing with trauma, anxiety, depression, not to mention the pharmaceutical crisis. And the amount of counselors, social workers, and psychologists that we have left cannot physically get to the social, emotional, and mental health support that is needed. Cell phones have also become a huge disruption in this learning environment. Any support would be greatly appreciated. We need it equally in all schools. We heard we may be receiving phone pouches, which could help us tremendously, and I hope that you hear that and that we all get the same support. Thank you.
Next is Catherine Lopez. Catherine Lopez.
She's coming, Mommy.
Hi, sorry. He's gonna help me to read it because there's so many words that I don't know how to pronounce. So Jesus is gonna read it for me.
Come on, I guess.
So I'm going to be speaking for Mrs. Lopez tonight. Hello, everyone. The night before, I was at PPSD Zoom meeting where they were allowed to chat, where we weren't allowed to chat with each other or see what was happening, and didn't get our questions answered live. I asked the question at 6:15 p.m. in that evening. I was told I said I do not want to interrupt the meeting. Can you show us the minutes of where, when, and who made the decision to close the schools without involving the community, parents, and their children? Which was answered at 6:52, not live, rather private, where Ms. Mara Harwell says, "We know the closures are very painful and those decisions are very difficult to make considering multiple factors. PPSD leaders have discussed those factors at previous school board meetings. It was supposed to be a Zoom meeting to ask for community input on the building facilities in which our questions were not considered or answered. Well, as a mother of 2 children at Alishon Farms Elementary School and as a community member of the Washington Park community, I asked the PPSD leaders to show us today the records of evidence of the school closures decisions since the records were never shown.
Yes.
To which I have not seen any of those minutes. Another concern that I have, what credibility do they give us to build 10 new schools with $500 million that they so have, if they still have 120 million children needs to fund, and that has not been invested in them, which makes me understand that they don't care about our children, their future, but your own greed. Thank you.
Next is Rosauri Marte. Rosauri Marte.
She's not here.
Next on our list, Michelle Miller.
Is this on? Okay, so as a lifelong Providence resident, one who attended Providence schools and one who served here as a long-term sub in the pool, never in my lifetime did I think I would ever see this level of corruption at RIDE and the Providence School Department. I don't even recognize the Providence School Department or even Rhode Island. I once lived in a Rhode Island where governors and mayors and commissioners of education and superintendents actually cared about Providence kids, families, and teachers, and they invested in the public schools, our neighborhood community schools. Never would they be closing schools where students are performing well academically, such as Allen Shore and Feinstein at Broad Street, where my first 4th grade daughter attends. And I know we can't go back to the past, but here we are, 3 years into the state takeover with 575 teacher and administrative resignations, 250 retirements, and 3 questionable school closures, schools that were closed in secrecy, and we parents have yet to see the minutes. How and when these decisions were made, and why over $46 million was initially allotted to the schools to be renovated, but now that's not the case, and where is the money? On December 14th, 2022, we parents learned that the school closures were drastic, would cause massive disruption and collateral damage. I need to emphasize that the reason why I'm so frustrated is that the school board has absolutely no input, no say on these closures. And you're the school board. Because when the state takeover ends and Commissioner Angelica Infante Green takes her sorry behind back to New York, and all is said and done, the damage will be done. And we can't come back from this. And our neighborhood schools and our communities will be destroyed. State takeovers of public schools do massive damage. Here are just a few headlines from the research I've done. State takeovers are about political power, not about school improvements. State takeovers of public schools weaken communities. That's exactly what's happening here. Why the state takeover of hurt Detroit public schools? The made-up crisis behind state takeover in Houston's independent school district. And that is why I speak out. I speak out for my daughter, my community, and our teachers. I want to encourage you newcomers on the school board to please be our voice and join us in this fight. I want you to know that the amount of criticism and backlash that these school closures have received from lawmakers, senators, and families, students, and teachers will never cease to amaze me. And please let that carry more weight than those who have made this irresponsible decision. Thank you.
Let me call for Rosauri Marte. Where are you? Rosauri Marte.
Mr. Chairman,
That brings us to the end of our public comment.
Mr. Chairman, the representative of teachers items had asked for public.
Next item on our agenda, school board member comments. Are there any comments from any school board members?
Oh, you got comments from your fucking community out here.
Hearing no comments, moving on to the next agenda item.
Excuse me.
Excuse us, please.
Your agenda.
An email you since 11 a.m.
Not the community agenda.
Well, shut the meeting down.
Agenda.
We emailed at 11 a.m. for public comment.
Mr. Stevens, would you like to receive your board member comments?
Your bylaws are defective. That's the problem. It's not us. We signed up.
We're going to the State House.
Let the man have 3
We're
minutes.
going to the State House.
He asked via email at 11 a.m. for public comment. And he has the receipts to show it. You asked for organizational representatives. I'm the spokesperson for the 267 drivers.
No, where's the receipt? Where's the receipt? Where's the proof? Where?
Okay, hope everyone's doing well on today. If in fact someone did send an email, if you could bring it over to the desk, and if it was sort of at 11 o'clock, then maybe we are able to sort of do something. I do sort of want to, like I said again, acknowledge all of the new members on the board. Truly appreciative to have all of you. Word of advice, get to know me for me. Don't sort of listen to what everyone says. I'm a good dude. So I really hope that each and every one of you.
You want the best, bro. You want the best.
Thank you, Tyrell.
You want that? Listen, I don't know why. We are black people. We are people of color. Right? And I don't know why Spanish people, right? People of color, black people, they can be in this market too. I don't know why. I don't know how.
All right.
We are the class. We are the workers class.
I understand.
We are the community.
I understand.
We are the voice. And we don't gonna give up. I don't care. We don't want to give up.
Okay.
Never.
Okay. I appreciate definitely the community. All of you know where I currently stand on the school closures. You all know I definitely stand with you. Although I know we need school improvement, I think that, like we always say, the layout of the whole sort of, the whole process was sort of not sort of transparent, which I've made clear before. I did recommend, I think at the last meeting, that the schools stay open. I still stand by that. So you all know that I'm with you all as it pertains to that. But like I said, I really wanted to take this time to acknowledge all of you as well. If in fact that's the case, we have been taught. But I do want to just thank everyone, thank all of the new board members. This is the time I want to take. And I also hear each and every one of you. I'm going to definitely let you all have either my phone number or email if you have any concerns, but a lot of you know how to reach me already. So truly appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Stevens. The clerk has alerted me that she does in fact have an email that was sent earlier to her by a Matthew Tybee or Tavy. So we're gonna allow Mr. Tavy, if it's okay with the board, may I have a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy talk, motion?
Motion.
Been motion and moved. Any discussion? All in favor? We're gonna let Mr. Tavy talk. 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, school board members. On behalf of Teamsters Local 251, which represents the 260 plus school and van drivers to transport the children of Providence every single day. Our intention is not an issue confrontation or anything like that. This is informational so you're aware of what's going on as it relates to negotiations with first student, your vendor, and the drivers. There was one issue that you're probably aware of. You may be aware of that the revenue agreement was recently renegotiated to provide for 180 paid school calendar days, where the drivers would receive pay in case of virtual days, et cetera, which is a matter of state law. But it was conditioned on ratification of a collective bargaining agreement within a certain time frame, as well as no labor disputes during that time frame. So as a matter on our behalf, we're reviewing that to make sure that's actually in accordance with state law. We certainly have an issue with something that, number one, is a matter of state law, and the schools essentially saying that something that's a matter of state law should be conditioned on not having a labor dispute. We do not want a labor dispute. We want to avoid one, but there are a lot of concerns among the drivers that we're bargaining with the first student that they have not addressed. And if folks remember, 4.5 years ago, there was a strike. And that's the last thing that we want, but the group is certainly prepared to do it. And we ask for any dialogue with first student to address the concerns that they have brought to their bargaining committee to get a fair contract so that there is no disruption and then you do not take away what is right under state law. There's a number of issues of pay, a number of issues of retirement benefits, healthcare benefits that First Student has just rejected outright. And I think since it affects everyone here in our communities, that it's a matter of great importance that we definitely want to avoid an issue, but the issue of a strike should very much happen in early March, and we ask for any and all dialogue with First Student to avoid that issue. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further school board member comments? Mr. Biemi?
Mr. President, I want to honorably ask that the last comment, we have someone talk to the administrators about it so that we just don't sweep it off the carpet. That's a very important issue that has the potential to cause delays. And in that situation, I think it should be addressed by the superintendent office. So I want to see that before we have the next meeting, hopefully we can have a feedback on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biemi. Hearing no further school board member comments, we're going to move on to our next agenda item. School board committee updates. Policy committee.
That would be me. So the policy committee met, I believe it was week before last. We didn't vote on any items, but we did discuss the process for revising the racial equity policy, which Dr. Onye is overseeing, which is just a terrific inclusive process, which is exciting to hear about. We also did some discussion about possible bylaw revisions and a school board retreat. No items were voted on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santel. Finance committee.
We had finance committee last week. We were so honored that Tony was present at that meeting. And when I asked her about how she felt about it, she felt so good about it. So she's more than welcome to attend our finance committee and be a member of the finance committee. Also, we will be discussing, we'll be looking at the items that were discussed last week. Importantly, we have one of the principals, one of the comments we have this night. I'm so grateful that she's here and that she came here, and I know she's left. Thank God that we want to hear this kind of feedback. And I remember the interim president, Dr. Santal, requested that somebody should come and tell us about the effectiveness of that program. And that's what she's done. And we hope to give further support. And later on these items, the items that were approved by myself and Mr. Stevens and Mr. Moingabo will be up for approval of the general body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obiemi. Health and Wellness Committee, it's my understanding do we have a chair?
No, we don't have a chair. The chair was Mary. I can discuss a little bit what we talked about.
Please.
Yes, we talked about the nutrition, physical activity, we group social emotional learning and healthy relationship they shared. What they've been working on the group, and also we discussed the necessity if any of this group try to make changes or recommendation or curriculum, make sure they actually put it on the district's website. And also we talked about the needs of more physical education teacher and when it's going. I know Tower and other board members joined as well the meeting. I don't know if you just want to share.
Thank you, Mr. Mahingabo. Next is the consent agenda. Chair will allow questions too.
I just wanted to comment that per the bylaws of the board, section 4.3, it states that the standing committees of the board should include a career and technical education committee. And I would like to just state for the record that I think it would be in the interest of the school system and the educators and most of all the children of the system that the board endeavors to reinstate a career in technical education committee.
Thank you, Mr. Matsuk. I think this board would wholeheartedly agree. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve items 7.1 to 7.7?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Present. Right there, no. Yep, there you go.
Okay. I'm not sure if this was supposed to happen, before we approve the agenda. But just for future, I read here on the ESP that it mentions, that even though there's no separate discussion, any item may be removed. Is that something that can happen now, or does it have to happen before the agenda is approved?
My understanding, this is based on past precedent anyways, right now, if you wanted to make a motion to put something from the consent agenda to discuss.
All right, so I would like to pull E-rate maintenance contract action, E-rate internal connection action, Yonder amendment action, National Center for Growth, your own FY23, FY24 contract action to be discussed individually.
We have a motion to remove items 7.3 through 7.
Sorry, it was 7.3 through 7.6.
Through 7.6, you have a motion on the floor to remove items 7.3 through 7.6 from the consent agenda for discussion. Is there a second? I will comment this, Ms. Robert Santana. I believe practice on the board, and again, we're gonna have retreats where we can revisit some of this stuff, is that the vetting, the thorough vetting happens at the committee level. So a lot of the detailed questions happen there at the oversight of Chairman Ebiemi. Mr. Ebiemi, I know you've already provided a brief synopsis. I don't know if there's anything further you can say about these items from Mrs. Robert Santana.
All right, thank you so much for that observation. And just like the president says, the purpose of the finance committee is to look at all these contracts where we had the opportunity to answer as many questions as possible. The last one, especially this one, we had the privilege of having Dr. Santo in the mix, and we have also Mr. Annie in our conversations. They asked a lot of questions, even the typical questions that we, the members of the finance committee, would not ask. They were able to ask, and each of these contracts, it's not like just they present and we just approve. If we have any reason for us to ask them to provide more information to us, we'll give it to them. If we do not feel comfortable passing any item, we will do that. You could see earlier when we were talking about the Yonder contract. This Yonder contract came 3 times before the finance committee because the members of the committee were not unanimous in approving it. So we had to ask them to represent it, give us more information. What is the approval rate from the parents, from the children? How comfortable are they? All these questions are what we ask, and I honestly invite you to come to one of the sessions where you see what the rigorous task that the committee does on that. So you can be rest assured that we've asked all the questions, we've crossed all the T's and dot all the I's to make sure that what we are presenting and recommending for approval has been thoroughly vetted by the finance committee.
Can I have one final comment, Mr. Chairman?
The floor is yours, Ms. Robertson.
Thank you. I guess I would love to see minutes of the finance committee added to the EBS or EBSB or just because for some of us, it's really hard to go to every single committee meeting. And so I think it would be important to have the minutes attached to this, to the consent agenda if there are any finance contracts, because I have some things that I didn't know. And so I would love to, for future, just be able to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Duly noted, Mrs. Robert Santana, and it's something that we'll discuss with the clerk and internal staff here.
And also, it's not stopping you if you have any question with regards to any of these items to ask, if you have specific questions. But I don't think for time basis, effectiveness, We're not gonna ask them to represent everything they presented to us. But if you have specific questions or something that is not clear to you, you have every right to raise that objection, and you ask that question and you can ask it.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Santal, floor is yours.
So, one way, every board member has the right to do exactly what you just requested to do. If our system is working properly, the contracts are up and available for us to see on ESPN on Friday. So if there are particular contracts about which we have a question, one can also raise that ahead of time so that we can make sure we have the answer those questions, or they can sometimes be answered before we gather at a board meeting. And then we can make sure that person is here to answer. So one can always pull the contracts out at any point. So it's entirely legitimate to do exactly what you just did. Please feel free to do so in the future. But I think the best approach is hopefully if all of our sort of clerical circumstances work right, we get to see those contracts well beforehand, and then we can try and get our questions answered. And if they're not, then we absolutely pull them out. And I love the idea of having minutes.
And meetings are in fact recorded as well. Those meetings.
So can I have the floor?
Ms. Robert Santana, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess my only thing, like one of the main things, especially for the E-rate internal connections, there's money attached to schools for implementation of these networks. And I guess I would like to start the practice of having PPSC or whoever puts these together present sort of like a calendar of implementation, and then at the end, sort of like present when these networks were connected to the schools and sort of like the results of it, just for accountability and making sure that when things happen, like a school roof is built and nobody knows how, when, or how, that we are able to be able, and same thing with the Yonder amendment. I think they're all great contracts, but there's just no ability for the school board to know when they were completed. And if that happens in the future, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just wanted to learn a little bit more. So thank you for the floor, and thank you for being willing to listen to me.
Thank you, Mrs. Robert Santana. Your comments are well taken, and they're coming from a place of curiosity and wanting to learn more, make sure we're doing a thorough vetting job here with these contracts. So it is appreciated. And I think it's worthy of discussion of this board to figure out a way to make that information more accessible, so you don't have to go out of your way to go to committee meetings or have to follow, like have to chase the information. So thank you. Mr. Biemi, if you could wrap up the comments to the side.
Yes, I just want to wrap it up. Ms. Carolina. So these two contracts are very, very important contracts. Some brief of it is like it's 85 to 15%. So at the cost, as humongous as it is, the federal government is going to take 85%, and we will be responsible for 15%. And this contract is as the services are implemented, they got invoiced. So it's not like we're dishing out. I myself, I asked that question. Are we going to get all this money at once? They said no. If they perform a service, out of that service is invoiced, 85% is financed by the federal government, and 15% is our responsibility. And regarding accountability, we made it known to them that we want to be seeing how the process is going. We actually asked that they involve school board members in this committee meeting. So,
Thank you, Chairman. The current motion on the floor was to withdraw items 7.3 to 7.7. Mrs. Robert Santana, is there a motion to withdraw? Do you want to withdraw?
Yes, I will withdraw my motion. I will withdraw my motion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robert Santana. Can we reestablish the original motion to pass items 7.1 through 7.7 on a voice vote?
Motion.
There's been a motion, second. Motion and second have been made. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item on our agenda, since it's been amended, is 9.1, executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, section 4246-4, 42-46-5, A1, personnel non-renewal. Mr. Ruggiero, can you walk us through this process?
Sure, we need initially a motion to go into executive session, following a second to that motion and a roll call vote to go into executive session. We'll clear the room and proceed to hear the matter scheduled for executive session.
Thank you, Solicitor. Do I have a motion for the board to enter executive session?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Motion has been made in second, and we need a roll call.
And just on that, let's just identify for what specific purpose on the motion. So it'll be a motion to go into executive session.
Got it. So the motion is pursuant to section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A1 personnel non-renewal. That is the motion on the floor. It's been first and seconded. It's been approved, or we have to approve it on the roll call vote. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll? Can you please take the vote?
George Matuk.
Aye.
Tony Aiken.
Aye.
Moeddin Ibiemi.
Aye.
Erlen Rubel.
Aye.
Mark Santo.
Aye.
Tyrell Stevens.
Aye.
Knight Jean.
Aye.
Carolyn Santana. Robert Santana.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. We have entered executive session.